It's one of the longest and oldest pathways in the world, and it runs right through Hamilton's backyard. With hundreds of species of plants and wildlife, the Bruce Trail is a great place to come and learn about nature and the outdoors, and to see spectacular views like this one behind me. I'm Alex Maveal, and this is Hometown Tourist. One of the most impressive things about the Bruce Trail is just how massive it is. This protected corridor spans the entire length of the Niagara Escarpment, stretching all the way from Tobermory in the north to Niagara Falls in the south. The main trail is more than 890 kilometers in length. With more than 9,000 acres of protected land, hikers don't have to stay on the beaten path.
And we also have side trails, and these trails will loop you off the main trail to points of interest. So we're here at Tews Falls on a side trail. So that concept of having that amount of trail open and accessible to you, and the difference in the landscape that you'll see, is really exciting and impressive.
To hike the entire trail would be the equivalent of walking from Hamilton to Ottawa and back. And believe it or not, many have done it.
And we have a bunch of people who every year set out to do an end-to-end, and they will hike the whole trail. So 900 kilometers, and they do it in all sorts of iterations. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes they'll book off work and do it.
Iroquoia is an 82-kilometer section of the trail that runs through Hamilton and surrounding areas. Considered one of the most beautiful and picturesque stretches along the Bruce Trail, it offers something unique every season of the year.
So it's a 4-season trail. It's open, every day of the year. So we do lots of snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. There's some loops on the trail, moonlight hikes. We have all sorts of themed hikes too. And that's one nice way Hamiltonians can get connected to the Bruce Trail, is to join their local club.
For those just looking for a scenic place to take the dog for a walk, the Conservancy produces an annual trail guide for hikers. You can also go online to discover more walks.
The Iroquoia Club has hikes that go out every day of the week and at different speeds. So there might be a photography hike, which is very slow, or there might be an endurance hike, so 15 kilometers and we're here to hike type of thing. So there's lots of different ways to explore it, and it's a nice social environment too. So that's a great way to get involved. On our website, brucetrail.org, we have a series of introductory hikes. So those are great, 10-kilometer bites where you can head out, great family hikes, those types of things. So the website's a really good place to start.
One of the feature attractions of the Iroquoia section is its waterfalls. There are more than 100 waterfalls in the Hamilton area, and most of them can be found along the Bruce Trail. At 41 meters in height, Tews Falls is the tallest of all waterfalls in Hamilton. This ribbon-style waterfall is in the heart of Spencer Gorge. Just a short hike from Tews is Webster's Falls. It's just half as high as Tews, but Webster's crest of 24 meters makes it the widest in Hamilton. Further south along the escarpment is Albion Falls. Its cascades make it perhaps the most impressive in the city, and 2 viewing platforms allow hikers to enjoy its beauty year-round. In addition to beautiful waterfalls, Iroquoia is home to more than 400 types of birds.
Depending on where you are, especially if you're in and around the Coots Paradise area, you keep your eyes open, you could see a bald eagle. We've actually got breeding bald eagles in the Royal Botanical Gardens Arboretum section there, which is pretty impressive because we haven't had breeding bald eagles in this area for quite some time.
Hikers also have the opportunity to encounter species of wildlife that live closer to the ground.
You've got the southern flying squirrel, which has its home in and around the Iroquoia area. And then you can typically see all kinds of other critters like the possum, the Virginia possum, that sort of made its way up. It wasn't native to Canada, but it actually came up because the climate was hospitable towards it. In terms of amphibians and reptiles, the Jefferson salamander is unique to the Niagara Escarpment, and this is one of the only areas in all of Ontario or all of Canada that it exists.
According to Adam Berlikowski, Iroquoia has the widest range of plant life this country has to offer.
And if you look at Canada as a whole, this area represents just 1% of the entire landmass of Canada, but it's got more diversity than any other life zone in all of Canada. So it's actually quite ecologically significant and incredibly diverse.
There is no other place in Canada that you'll find such a vast array of species of trees all in one place.
There's 70 species of trees that exist, which is huge compared to the rest of Canada. Typically what you're going to see along the Bruce Trail is probably a sugar maple beech forest, which is what we call a climax forest, because those are species that can survive in the shade. American beech is the same sort of thing. We've got some beautiful old tulip trees if you get a little farther south into the section here. Other species that we have are oaks, white oaks, red oaks, sassafras trees. A lot of the hickories that we have in this area you can't find anywhere else in all of Canada.
Ecologists working on the Bruce Trail say they continue to discover new species each and every year.
At the Bruce Trail Conservancy, we have 2 staff ecologists who, when we secure a piece of property, their job is to do a full inventory of that property. And they find things that we didn't at first know were there, and then we work to make sure those are conserved well.
But not all species of plants found are welcome.
Invasive species are a real threat to biodiversity. You've got species like garlic mustard, common buckthorn, Norway maples. These are all species that came over from either Europe or Asia, and they're brought over innocently, and they just happen to really do well in this particular habitat, and they do that to the detriment of our existing native species. So in some senses, they actually push out the species that existed and evolved here and take over ecosystems.
And additional threats to the wildlife within the Iroquoia forest are the hikers, who can unknowingly damage the ecosystem by leaving marked trails. But with scenery like this, why would you?
One of the great things about the Bruce Trail is that the pathways hug the Niagara Escarpment, which creates for some great views and lookouts over the valley.
Another good reason for hikers to stay on the trail is safety.
If you stay on the trail is placed where it's safe. If you walk off the trail, this is an escarpment, so there is opportunities for accidents. But if you're on the trail, then you're safe.
As an added safety measure, the Bruce Trail Conservancy has also developed a navigation system.
You can leave the compass at home because the Bruce Trail has these markers in place which act as a hiker's personal guide.
As my t-shirt demonstrates, this is a blaze, and the Bruce Trail, our navigation system is built on this blazing system. So white blazes are white painted marks on the tree, and you'll see that all along the 900 kilometers of the main trail. So if you're approaching a tree, you'll see a white blaze, which means continue. If there's an offset blaze, that will indicate which way you should be turning. So if it's offset to the right, you turn to the right, offset to the left, to the left. If it is a T, that means terminus, which the trail ends. And the same system is for our side trails, and those are all blue blazes. So those are the ones that will take you out to a scenic vista or a waterfall or a point of interest, a lime kiln, an old mill, and exact same, but they're blue. And the way that our volunteers, they're so dedicated, they make sure that you should see the next blaze when you're at the current blaze.
Roughly 1,300 volunteers help keep the Bruce Trail's pathways clear and accessible. They also help in building bridges like this one.
It's never been easier to get to the Bruce Trail, as several public transit routes stop near popular hiking paths.
And there are access points, particularly in Ancaster, where you can take a bus to kind of Wilson and Rousseau, hop off the bus by the old mill area, and you can head onto the trails there.
Another way the Conservancy is making the Bruce Trail accessible is by hosting photo contests, which not only get people out walking, but also captures the natural beauty of Hamilton.
The Bruce Trail itself is along, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and when our photographers get out there, it really is a wonderful way to share that with other people. And people will look at sections of the Bruce Trail and say, is that the Mediterranean, or is that in Scotland? And no, it's right here. So it's a wonderful way to share the Bruce Trail.
One of my favorite things to do on the Bruce Trail is come to lookouts like this here at Tiffany Falls. But with 900 kilometers of pathways on the Bruce Trail, even if you were to hike them 8 hours a day, it would still take you a month. And with scenes like this, it could take you a lot longer than that. I'm Alex Maveal, and this is Hometown Tourist on the Bruce Trail.